Andrew Loney has said time and time again, there are many questions Beatrice and Eugenie need to answer. They have really, I would argue, abused their role with soft power to advance their careers and their social position for financial gain.
Meghan Markle seems to have a pattern, and it's not about the men in her life, it's about the people around her. Staff members come and go, some lasting barely 10 months. Publicists walk away before the year even finishes. Friends get showered with attention behind closed doors, only to suddenly find themselves ignored when the spotlight turns on. There's a clear rhythm to it. First comes the warmth, then comes the favour, and then suddenly the exit door swings open. Since 2020, around 20 employees have reportedly stepped away from the Sussex operation. Their 11th publicist has already cleared out their desk. Even the numbers around their foundation raised eyebrows. Donations reportedly dropped from about $13 million to under $2 million within just 3 years. Now, according to several tabloid reports, Meghan and Harry may have their eyes on a brand new project. Not another Netflix show. Not another podcast people forgot about. This time the attention is supposedly turning toward 2 royal women. 2 princesses, 2 cousins, Beatrice and Eugenie.
Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished.
Right.
Netflix series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from here. I think she has a major problem.
Their father's legal troubles have pushed their family name back into the headlines, and their world seems to be shifting fast. For someone stepping in with a friendly smile, a contact list, and a fresh business idea, the timing could look almost too perfect. And if even half of these reports turn out to be accurate, insiders say the royal family could be dealing with one of its most awkward internal situations since Spare shook the palace walls. Here's a detail many people missed. Meghan Markle didn't first cross paths with Princess Eugenie because of Harry. In fact, some say the connection worked the other way around. Long before Prince Harry entered the story, Meghan and Princess Eugenie were already moving through the same social circles in London. Around 2013, or maybe 2014, both were part of the Soho House scene, that private members club world where fashion insiders, media figures, and old money names often gather around the same tables.
What I discovered was, of course, that she was hunting for a man in England from 2013, and she wanted wealth and she wanted fame, and there's no doubt she targeted Harry.
One of the key links between them was designer Misha Nonu, a close mutual friend. She later helped arrange the blind date between Meghan and Harry in 2016. Meghan herself confirmed during the 2021 Oprah interview that she already knew Eugenie before the romance with Harry began. At the time, Meghan and Harry even spent time socially with Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank as couples, long before royal headlines exploded everywhere. When Harry started dating Meghan seriously, Eugenie reportedly showed early support. In fact, she was said to be the first royal family member to meet Meghan. Not William, not Kate, not even Charles, but Eugenie. According to the book Finding Freedom by Omid Scobie and Carolyn Durand, Eugenie described Meghan as just the tonic for Harry. That description appeared in a summarized section later published by the Evening Standard. The connection between these couples didn't stay casual for long. They went on double dates together. They even vacationed in Lake Como alongside George and Amal Clooney, moving through the same elite circles like it was completely normal.
She was all in to do any and everything to make herself relevant. Hey, putting her girls in between this, that's what she was going to do. Absolutely.
And when Harry and Meghan left the UK for California in 2020, something else raised eyebrows. Eugenie and Jack ended up moving into Frogmore Cottage for a period, the very home the Sussexes had just left behind after the property had received major taxpayer-funded renovations. That kind of arrangement doesn't usually happen by accident. It suggested a level of trust and closeness that had been building for years. This wasn't a sudden friendship that appeared once Meghan entered the royal picture. The connection had been forming long before Prince Harry even knew Meghan's name. And that timeline matters more than people realise when looking at everything that followed. After Megxit, most of the royal family quickly pulled back. Prince William reportedly stopped answering calls. King Charles kept his distance. Kate had never been especially close to Meghan in the first place. The palace walls seemed to go up almost overnight, leaving Harry and Meghan standing on the outside. But Eugenie didn't step away with the rest. Instead, she appeared to move in the opposite direction. Footage from the Netflix Harry and Meghan docuseries showed her visiting their Montecito home. In the clips, she's seen spending time on the beach with Archie and laughing with Meghan in the garden. That's not the behavior of a distant cousin politely keeping contact through holiday cards. That looked like someone openly maintaining a friendship right in front of the cameras for millions of viewers to watch. Harry even wrote about moments like this in Spare. In one scene, he described a formal gathering at Royal Lodge where Eugenie and Jack greeted Meghan warmly with supportive kisses on the cheek, right in front of the Queen. It may have seemed like a small gesture, but in a room filled with tension and quiet disapproval, it sent a clear message about where their support stood.
Markle has all pretty much the same friends that Eugenie and Beatrice had. And in 2017, Fergie gave an interview after Meghan Markle got married and everything, welcoming them into the family. And she said that she had never met Meghan Markle.
Princess Beatrice, however, appeared to keep a bit more distance. She never seemed to share the same personal bond with Meghan that Eugenie had. Beatrice stayed more aligned with the traditional royal structure, maintaining closer ties to the institution. Still, the overlap between the families remained. All four Yorks spent years moving through Harry's social world, especially during gatherings at Royal Lodge and shared social circles. Even years later, the connection didn't fully disappear. In 2025, reports from GOTV suggested Meghan's friendship with Eugenie was still going strong despite the wider family tension. The report even noted that Harry and Meghan had purchased a holiday home in Portugal, near where Eugenie and Jack live. And that kind of move rarely happens by coincidence. People don't buy property along the same coastline as someone they've drifted away from. That looks more like intentional proximity than fading distance. The foundation of this relationship stretches back more than a decade, and it managed to survive one of the most dramatic royal family splits in modern history. Which is exactly why the next part of the story gets even more intriguing. Sometime between 2024 and early 2026, the once friendly connection between the Sussexes and the York sisters started showing cracks. Or at least, that's the version palace-adjacent sources began whispering about. Reports started circulating that the relationship had quietly cooled, and suddenly the tone around Beatrice and Eugenie looked very different. The Royal Observer published a story citing a source close to the royal circle who claimed that Beatrice and Eugenie had not been in contact with Harry and Meghan for quite some time. According to the report, the sisters had now firmly placed their loyalty with the royal family and were focused on supporting King Charles and Prince William.
Sarah, Andrew, Beatrice, Eugenie, they're all cut from the same cloth. And if I did think that any of them were different, I wouldn't be tarring them with the same brush just because they are Andrew and Sarah's daughters.
That shift supposedly became more visible after the serious health news involving Charles and Catherine, when the institution needed dependable public figures showing up at official engagements. Royal biographer Tom Quinn added more weight to the conversation. He suggested that while the York sisters may still feel like emotional outsiders at times, their public behavior has clearly moved closer to the palace side of things. Other small moments seem to point the same way. Eugenie was reportedly seen meeting with Piers Morgan, one of Meghan's most outspoken critics, which immediately raised eyebrows in media circles that tend to support the Sussexes. Around the same time, Sarah Ferguson also appeared to create a little distance from Meghan in public remarks. Then, in early 2026, the Daily Mail ran an article suggesting that the ongoing fallout from Prince Andrew's scandal could completely end the friendship between Meghan and Eugenie. The reasoning sounded blunt but simple. Being publicly close to Meghan can bring heavy tabloid attention. Being connected to Andrew's daughters brings constant discussion of the Epstein controversy. Put those two headlines together, and neither side walks away looking comfortable in the media spotlight. From that perspective, it looked like the bridge between the two camps might be quietly burning while the sisters stepped back toward the palace. For a moment, the narrative seemed settled. The York sisters were moving closer to the institution, keeping their heads down and showing loyalty to the monarchy they grew up inside. The Sussex chapter of their lives appeared to be fading into the background, and then a new set of reports exploded into the headlines and flipped the entire story again.
Beatrice and Eugenie, they can't wait, can they, to pop on a plane to the Middle East, rinse their titles, get a few freebies. I'm afraid they're just like their parents.
In February 2026, News International published a report claiming that Harry and Meghan were supposedly encouraging Beatrice and Eugenie to consider a major tell-all interview or book. The article, citing anonymous sources, suggested the Sussexes believed it could be a powerful opportunity for the sisters to share their experiences about their family life, their upbringing, and the intense scrutiny surrounding the Epstein scandal. According to the report, Harry and Meghan were allegedly willing to help connect the sisters with major publishers and interview platforms, potentially leading to what the article described as a substantial amount of money. Not long after, The Express followed with a similar piece, framing the idea as something that could shake the royal family to its core. The implication behind those stories was dramatic. If Beatrice and Eugenie ever chose to speak publicly about their family's controversies, they could offer their perspective on the years of headlines surrounding Prince Andrew and the wider scandal.
You know, Beatrice, like you said, was the one that ultimately played a pivotal role in Andrew doing the interview with Emily Maitlis inside Buckingham Palace, where he sat down in the palace and lied to the world.
And in the media world, personal revelations like that often come with massive attention and massive deals. Critics quickly pointed out that the situation looked familiar. Harry and Meghan had already followed a similar path themselves with Spare, the Oprah interview, and their Netflix docuseries. The formula was clear to many observers. Take deeply personal experiences, turn them into powerful storytelling, and present it as finally speaking your truth. Same strategy, different names in the spotlight. These stories are still coming from tabloid reporting built on anonymous sources. There's no confirmed publishing deal, no official TV interview announced, and no direct quotes on record from any of the four people involved. But that didn't stop social media from grabbing the story and running with it at full speed. One widely shared Facebook post described the whole situation in blunt terms. It claimed Harry and Meghan were preparing to use Princess Beatrice and Eugenie like puppets to pressure the royal family. And that word, puppets, stuck. It spread fast because it captured the feeling many online commentators were hinting at. Even if the polished tabloid headlines were dancing carefully around the accusation, even if the evidence behind these claims remains circumstantial, the discussion keeps circling back to a pattern critics say they've noticed over the years. Supporters see loyal partnerships, while critics point to a 6-year history of staff changes, shifting alliances, and public fallouts. That history is why the story grabbed so much attention the moment it appeared online. But there's another detail buried inside the reporting that many channels barely mentioned. Royal commentator Duncan Larcombe, writing for News International, pointed out something Meghan would likely be very aware of. Photographs exist from Princess Beatrice's 18th birthday party, where Jeffrey Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell all appeared in the same room. According to Larcombe's commentary, that kind of image carries serious reputational weight, especially in the United States, where the Epstein story continues to draw intense scrutiny. Because of that, Larcombe suggested Meghan may want to be extremely careful about how publicly supportive she appears toward Beatrice and Eugenie. In the UK, the topic has long been controversial, but in the US, the Epstein headlines often carry an even heavier reaction.
Prince Andrew in your book, you talk about how Prince Andrew told Prince Harry his marriage to Meghan Markle would not last more than a month and accused him of being bonkers for not doing his due diligence into her past.
There's nothing defamatory about it. That was the one point where people were sort of cheering him on.
Exactly.
From a public relations perspective, standing too close to that controversy could quickly become risky. If that interpretation is correct, it paints a complicated picture. The idea isn't that support disappears completely. It may simply shift behind closed doors. Larcombe suggested Meghan might be comfortable with Harry privately supporting his cousins during the ongoing Andrew scandal, while she herself keeps a more cautious public distance. In that scenario, the warmth exists quietly, but the public messaging stays carefully controlled. With constant media attention, streaming deals under scrutiny, and every public appearance analysed within hours, image management becomes a major factor. And that raises the bigger question observers keep debating. when personal relationships unfold under global attention, where does genuine friendship end and strategic branding begin? The Sussex media strategy has always seemed to move in one direction. When Omid Scobie writes a book, the spotlight lands on Harry and Meghan. When Netflix signs a deal, the cameras follow Harry and Meghan.
Was a nightmare from the beginning because she had come from an industry where you click your fingers, you pay someone and things get dealt with. You can control the coverage. You get to behave however you want in entertainment industries.
When Oprah hosts a massive primetime interview, they're the ones sitting on the couch telling the story. So if Princess Beatrice and Eugenie were ever to release a tell-all through agents or publishers connected to the Sussex circle, a lot of royal watchers are asking the same question. Whose narrative would that project really serve? Would it be the sisters telling their story? Or another chapter that ultimately strengthens the Sussex brand? The Express recently reported that Prince William is paying very close attention to the situation. According to that coverage, he may eventually face difficult decisions about how Beatrice and Eugenie fit into the future structure of the monarchy, especially with the ongoing controversy surrounding their father's connections to Jeffrey Epstein. Tom Sykes at the Daily Beast pushed the argument even further. He suggested that King Charles should consider removing the sisters from the line of succession entirely, claiming their continued royal visibility could become a long-term problem, while the shadow of Prince Andrew's scandal continues hanging over the family. Meanwhile, other reports paint an uncomfortable picture of their current social standing. Sources cited by Rob Shooter's Naughty But Nice column claim the sisters are slowly being pushed out of parts of London's high society scene, invitations reportedly disappearing, charity board opportunities becoming harder to secure, doors quietly closing, not because of anything they personally did, but because their surname is York and their father's connection to the Epstein scandal keeps resurfacing in headlines. That's the complicated position Beatrice and Eugenie are standing in right now. By February 2026, the pressure surrounding their family had only intensified, their father facing serious legal trouble, their mother dealing with renewed public scrutiny, and the palace reportedly treating the situation as something delicate to manage rather than a family crisis to openly defend. Reports often describe Prince William as personally fond of his cousins but cautious about bringing them too far into the spotlight, while Andrew remains such a controversial figure. At the same time, King Charles has reportedly appreciated their presence at certain engagements, particularly during periods when the royal family needed reliable faces due to health challenges involving both him and Catherine. But the balancing act is obvious, visible enough to help when needed, yet careful not to place them front and centre where difficult questions might follow them onto the palace balcony. And across that divide, according to some reports, sit Harry and Meghan, possibly offering a completely different path. A publisher's contact, a global interview platform, and a pitch built around the idea that telling your story can feel freeing when the whole world is watching. For Beatrice and Eugenie, the choice described in the media sounds incredibly difficult. Stay firmly aligned with the palace and risk slowly fading into the background as Andrew's scandal continues to shape public perception. Or step into the global spotlight with a tell-all project and risk becoming part of another highly public royal narrative.
They were not poor. They just wanted to land a rich man and make easy money. And the worst part of it all is that Meghan Markle was already with Trevor Engelson there. She was already living with him. There was no need for her to be hustling this way.
Many royal commentators say the sisters have always handled their roles differently from the Sussex approach. They grew up inside the institution, attending royal events, supporting charities, and keeping their personal experiences largely private. They wore the hats, did the walkabouts, and quietly followed royal tradition without turning those moments into global media projects. That quiet loyalty may actually be what makes them interesting figures in the current royal story. Voices who understand the inside of the institution, but who have rarely spoken publicly about it. Whether any offer like this truly exists, and whether the sisters would ever consider it, remains uncertain. Most signals right now suggest they are still choosing the path of caution, but the fact that these reports are circulating at all says something about how tense the royal landscape has become. Because every new headline seems to raise the same question: who will tell the next chapter of the royal story? and whose version of the truth the world will hear next. For Beatrice and Eugenie, the pressure around them isn't just royal drama, a balancing act between loyalty, reputation, and survival in one of the most watched families on earth. Every move they make gets examined. Every photo, every friendship, every event appearance suddenly becomes part of a much bigger story. On one side stands the royal institution they were born into. The palace values stability, silence, and careful public duty. That system expects patience and loyalty, even when the headlines turn uncomfortable. For years, the York sisters followed that script without making noise. They supported charities, attended royal events, and rarely stepped into controversy themselves. But the world around them has changed fast. Their father's scandals keep dragging their name back into the news cycle. Social circles shift, public perception shifts, and suddenly the quiet royal life they once lived doesn't look as stable as it used to. That's where the rumors about outside opportunities start making headlines. Books, interviews, media deals, platforms where personal stories can turn into global conversations overnight. Some commentators believe those options could offer the sisters a chance to control their own narrative instead of letting tabloids define it. Others warn that stepping into that spotlight could open an entirely new storm of criticism. For now, Beatrice and Eugenie remain in the middle of that tension, royal insiders watching them from one side, media speculations swirling from the other, and whatever decision they make next could reshape how their story is told for years to come. If you made it this far, you already know royal stories are never as simple as they first look. Behind the titles, the headlines, and the palace walls, there are always deeper layers unfolding. And this situation with the York sisters might only be the beginning. So what do you think really happens next? Do Beatrice and Eugenie stay loyal to the palace, or could they eventually step forward and tell their own side of the story? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read them all. And if you enjoy deep dives into royal drama, hidden alliances, and the stories the headlines don't fully explain, make sure you subscribe to Crowndom and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next breakdown. Because in the world of royalty, the next twist is always closer than it seems.
Buckingham Palace has confirmed that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex will not be returning as working members of the royal family.